room. She's asleep. She wakes up. She's being sexually assaulted by him. That's what she said. So that's her story. Now, some of it's a little foggy about identity and exactly what happened. But make no mistake, she said she was being raped, and she acted that way. She called out afterwards, telling someone about it. She went to the hospital, had the rape kits done, did everything that we ask every accuser, every victim to do. Now, the DNA evidence in this case is inconclusive. And that's a problem for prosecutors, right? In a case like this, if you have the DNA, you've got the case. You can prove the contact. Here's what the DNA tells us, is that two different men, DNA from two different men, were found in her private area. But because of the way the samples were gathered and how much material they had to deal with in the testing, they could not conclude, they could not tie it to who it belonged to. It belonged to two men for sure. So this case is really, you know, it's a case where you've got to put pieces together. You've got what she said, you've got what he said. Those are both direct evidence. That's direct evidence. Eyewitnesses telling you what happened or didn't happen in this case. You believe one or the other. But what does the other evidence lead you to? Who else could it be? The DNA. One, obviously the man she had consensual sex with, but who's the other? Who else was in the room? No one else except the defendant. The first jury could not agree to that. It was a hung jury. That's why we're at trial again. Now the question is, will this second jury be able to come to some unanimous decision in all of this? Well, today was day one of deliberations, 4 hours, and they went back home. They'll be back at it first thing in the morning. Make sure you're watching Julie Grant first thing here on Court TV, because we know a verdict can happen at any moment. Let's take a look at the closing arguments, the last thing that this jury heard.
But only 3 people were allegedly present in room 610 of the Omni Parker house on March 14th into March 15th of last year. And that is for what claims happened. And of those 3, 1, Mr. Liam O'Brien, was supposedly asleep. Moreover, he refused to return here and testify in this trial. So really, there are only 2 people who could know what did or did not happen in that room that night. No one else that you heard from saw anything or heard anything at the time says these things happened. This is a case where says she was sexually assaulted by an individual she couldn't identify. Mr. Crosby says it was not him, that he didn't do what he's being accused of. There's no other evidence of what happened or didn't happen in that room that night, no video or audio recordings, no pictures, no other witnesses to what supposedly occurred. The DNA evidence that the Commonwealth introduced, or lack thereof, cannot tell you what happened. There are only 2 people who could know what happened, and you heard from both of them. Everyone else that was called to testify in this case was not in that room and did not directly see or hear anything about what did or did not happen in that room. Whom I suggest is a less than reliable reporter, given her intoxication, her memory lapses, and other provably false recollections, gave you her version of events. And Mr. Crosby got up on that stand, something he was not required to do, and under oath told you he did not do what he's being accused of. I submit to you that, in and of itself, is all the reasonable doubt you need. Now, the Commonwealth is asking you to believe her version of events. But when you evaluate her testimony, I ask you to question whether she is a reliable reporter. You heard testimony from Detective McDonough that there were things she couldn't remember throughout the night. You heard testimony that she had been drinking throughout the day and night at multiple establishments. The amount of drinks varied across several interviews and testimony, but despite what she told you about not feeling drunk or about being coherent, her blood draw proved she was intoxicated at 6 a.m. on March 15th. Again, if he's chasing her around this small room, bumping into walls and furniture, trying to get into the bathroom after she locks it, does it make sense that Mr. O'Brien isn't awakened? Does it make sense that the alleged assailant wouldn't be afraid of awakening him? Does it make sense that he didn't call out to Mr. O'Brien for help? Does it make sense that she didn't call for the police or from the bathroom? She told you it was locked. She told you she wanted to get to safety, that she got her belongings, locked herself in the bathroom, got dressed from there and left, that she didn't go back into the room. So she had her phone with her. I submit all these questions also amount to reasonable doubt.
Is Terrence Crosby the unluckiest man in the whole world? On his first night in Boston, he was raped by a stranger in room 610 of the Omni Parker house. And somehow, all of the evidence just happens to point to Terrence Crosby. Terrence Crosby is not the unluckiest man in the world. He is just the man who raped her as she slept in that hotel room and continued doing so even after she woke up and tried to fight him off of her. He raped her because he thought that he could do it anonymously and he thought that he could get away with it. But then he got caught red-handed, literally trying to flee the country. She woke up with a stranger on top of her, already penetrating her vaginally as she slept. She had been in that utterly vulnerable position that sleep puts us all in. When Terrence Crosby went into that room and he saw sleeping, naked, completely defenseless in his bed, he exploited an opportunity. He had unfinished business from the bar. And if he woke up and complained, too bad. She doesn't know him. And he can always just say it's a he said, she said, right? Was unprepared for this attack, for the man's sudden sexual violence as she woke up. She wasn't able to defend herself until it was too late. She had been alone in the room with Liam O'Brien when she fell asleep, and she thought she was safe until she realized that she wasn't. And as Terrence Crosby thrust his penis repeatedly into, and as he pinned her down on the bed using his body weight and his hands, he told her that she liked it, that his friend couldn't do it for her, but that he would. He asked, or she asked, "What are you doing?" And she told him to stop, but he didn't. He kept pushing his penis inside of her vagina, even as she struggled against him. She was eventually able to get away from him. They found evidence of Liam O'Brien walking off the elevator on the 6th floor, heading toward room 610, and then the door to room 610 opening at that same minute, 11:54 p.m., using that guest key card ending in 141. She said that while she was asleep, a different man with an Irish accent came into the room and raped her while Liam O'Brien was in there sleeping and snoring in the next bed. And she would have had no way of knowing this, but video and other records would show that another Irishman, the defendant, had entered that room 2 hours after she went in and 20 minutes before she left. He was the only other man in that room. 1:55 a.m. He goes in there. No one else went in, and there was no other door activity in that room block during that time period. But before he left that interview, he also tried to fish around for information about what had disclosed. So, is she saying someone pinned her down on the bed and had sex with her? Why would he presume that? They hadn't shared any details with him to that point of what was said other than that it was a sexual assault. So how does Terrence Crosby, in that moment, just happen to guess the exact thing, the exact method, and in the exact place where was raped? In that interview, he also tried to lay the groundwork for why his DNA might later be found somewhere where it shouldn't be. He told them a bizarre story about having masturbated in the bed, in his bed, that morning, while Liam O'Brien was at breakfast, before they all went out for the night, before Liam O'Brien came back to room 610. But the problem with that statement was there was no morning in Boston on Thursday for Terrence Crosby and Liam O'Brien. So there was no masturbating all over his bed while his colleague is supposedly down at breakfast. They were still in Ireland that morning. How is it possible that her report would lead them to a man who would make incriminating statements and just happen to guess the exact way he was raped? How did she will two distinct male contributors onto the genital swab taken from her body? And how on earth did she manage to get Terrence Crosby on a plane to try to flee the country after being confronted by police? You now know the name Terrence Crosby as the man who raped in that room. Not a maybe, not a probably, proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That is a high burden, but it is the same burden in every criminal case, in every courthouse, in the Commonwealth, and in the history of this country. There is no mystery man here. There's no phantom rapist who slipped off into the night. Terrence Crosby, he is not the unluckiest man in the world. He's just someone who did a terrible, terrible thing to another person simply because he wanted to and because he thought that he could.
As you can hear and see, there are problems with both sides of this case, which is what happened in the first trial. It was a hung jury. The jury could not agree. What's going to happen here second time around? Let's bring in our think tank live in studio with me. Criminal defense attorney, former assistant state attorney in Miami-Dade County and former assistant DA in Atlanta, Darrell Cohen. Criminal defense attorney and law professor Meg Strickler, and the man behind the glasses, criminal defense attorney Josh Schiffer. I look at this case, and I don't know. There's DNA from two men. No one else was in that room, but wasn't enough for the first jury. Will it be enough for this second jury?
Well, it wasn't enough for the first jury because they couldn't tie the DNA to Mr. Crosby.
But who else could it be? There was no one else in the room. There were two men in the room and one woman.
So?
His DNA is his DNA, not mine, not Meg's, not Josh's, and not Vinnie's.
Exactly. You don't have proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
How did we prove rape cases before DNA?
Because
we didn't always have, ladies and gentlemen, newsflash, we didn't always have DNA.
Listen.
What did we do back in the, I don't know, late 80s, early 80s, 70s? There were rapes back then. They were proven in court.
I think in this instance, this is a great civil case, and they would win beyond to the exclusion on a preponderance of the evidence. But I have a real problem convicting this man, whether he be guilty or not, based upon the evidence that they have shown in the courtroom.
And remember, there was a long-time criticism on how hard these cases were to bring because it was literally he said, she said, and that's a problem. Corroboration has been required by various cultures for literally thousands of years. You weren't allowed to bring a charge
Well, the
like
corroboration
this
is here.
witness.
There's video of him in the hotel hallway. His card key goes in. We know the timing of when he goes in. We know when she leaves. We know what she says when she leaves. We know how she gets out of there, goes to the hospital. She's reacting as a victim of sexual assault.
And one of the problems is none of that's being disputed except for the fact that
So you couldn't prove a case if someone wears a condom?
That the sex was, according to her, non-consensual.
Oh, wait. He's saying it didn't happen. He never, ever said that there was consent. Like, if he's saying consensual, I'm like, okay, what exactly happened here? Then it's a true he said, she said. But he's saying it didn't even happen.
I agree.
The closest he came to having sex with her, he says, was doing stuff to himself while his roommate went down to breakfast.
Well, you know, he had a nice morning the next day.
But he wasn't there. That's a lie.
It's his room. Now, I hear you. You're bringing in some issues are on both sides. But remember, whose burden is it? It's the prosecution. They should have brought this case. When you have a case that's not is what you think is strong enough to prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
I think it's strong enough.
No, I don't. Her closing argument even didn't have the chutzpah it should have had.
Where's the reduction of, hey, listen, this isn't a perfect case, so let's plead you to a lesser charge that would make more sense, that would be more palatable?
You think he wouldn't even admit to consensual sex because of his wife over in Ireland?
You don't know
think
that.
he's going to admit to non-consensual sex?
You don't know that. That may be the truth of what he testified to. Did you ever think of that?
There's something called Alford versus North Carolina. I'm not saying I did it. I'm saying I didn't, but I think there's enough evidence where they could prove it. Could easily have been reduced to something that was palatable both to the Commonwealth and to him.
And we're not even getting into those extra things, such as what would his wife say, and is he more in trouble somewhere else for telling something? Because we all believe there's a civil issue behind some of this. It would explain the unbelievable dedication of resources in a case that no prosecutor says, that's a great case for trial.
We don't say it's a great case, but you've got a woman who says she was forcibly raped in a hotel. Immediately after, she tells someone. Immediately after, she goes to the hospital. They swab her at the hospital. She's got DNA from 2 men. She tells them, I consensually engaged in activity with one man. I did not with the second man. I mean, how as a prosecutor could you walk away from that?
How could you walk to it? Because she
Because I have common sense.
Well, but common sense doesn't overcome drinking, and there's nothing wrong with somebody drinking. Being in a hotel room, having the hotel room with more than one person in there.
No. When she went in the hotel room, it was just the 2 of them. The roommate was in the hallway.
And he came in, right.
He came in.
Right.
She didn't invite him in. She didn't go in with him. She left after he allegedly raped her.
And if you have to prove a very specific set of allegations, the addition of everything Daryl and Meg is talking about makes you question, makes you step back a little bit, because you can't be as certain as you'd like to be.
Wait, hold on a second. Why would why would someone who's not a victim put themselves through what she's putting them through? You're going to say civil case.
I don't know.
Who's she suing?
Well, we don't know.
The
She very easily could be sued.
Yeah.
The hotel?
The hotel, premises liability, yes.
There's a lot of different ways.
Yes.
There's a lot of, maybe they were,
I disagree with all 3.
You need some cynicism.
I disagree with all 3. Cynicism. I'm looking for justice. Okay. Tank is staying with us. When we come back, another case that we may or may not agree on. Hopefully we'll agree. Parents leave their 6-month baby on the beach by himself while they go play with their other children and go for a walk. They come back about an hour later. They're in trouble. We'll talk about that. Plus, coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, a Florida neighborhood feud turned fatal. It's the focus of the Netflix documentary everyone is talking about, The Perfect Neighbor. But before the movie, we showed you the trial right here on Court TV. So, how does stand your ground self-defense apply to this tragic case? Tonight, we investigate.
I've committed so many horrific acts over and over and over.
Do you think you deserve to die for murdering those innocent people?
You tell me. I wish more than anything, David, that I would have done something other than the things I've done in my life.
Are you really a changed man, or is this some kind of stunt?
Interview with a Killer. 2-hour season premiere. Saturday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific. Only on Court TV.
Take a look. These are the parents, Brian and Sarah Wilkes. They're from Texas, going on vacation in the Florida Panhandle. Beautiful part of the country, beautiful beaches down in Walton County. But let me show you and tell you what happened with these parents. They've got 4 children, including one who's a 6-month-old baby, and the other are little kids that like to run around the beach. So they're on a family vacation. Here's what the Walton County Sheriff's Office says happened. Around noon on Friday, October 10th, Walton County Sheriff's Office responded to 4000 Sandestin Boulevard following reports of an unattended infant on the beach. When deputies arrived, witnesses confirmed the child had been left alone for nearly an hour while the parents walked down the beach with 3 other children. Good Samaritans immediately began caring for the child and called law enforcement. While deputies waited for South Walton Fire District personnel to arrive and assess the infant, the parents returned to the scene where both admitted to placing the child under the tent for a nap before leaving with their other children, claiming they lost track of time. Security footage obtained during the investigation confirmed the family was away for nearly an hour and did not bring their cell phone with them. If they were the cell phone, I don't think the baby was going to call them. Here's what else the Walton County Sheriff is saying. Both parents, Brian and Sarah Wilkes of Houston, Texas, were arrested and charged with child neglect without great bodily harm. DCF, which is Family Services, took custody of the children pending the arrival of family members traveling from Texas. They both bonded out the following day on a $1,000 bond. I want you to take a look at where this happened. It's Miramar Beach, really beautiful in the Panhandle. You can see where it is in Florida. We zoom in on the beach and you see there's the hotel they were staying at. And yes, the water really is that color and the beaches are beautiful. But this is what happened. What was the weather that day? You might be worried about the baby being the weather. It was a high of 80 degrees. So it was a breezy day on the beach. So let's bring in our think tank. Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickler, Josh Schiffer on this one.
Unless it was raining grandparents, the weather doesn't matter. You can't leave babies on beaches.
I can't think of a single defense. I mean, you want me to leave your phone unattended? Someone's going to steal it. This is an infant. Are you kidding me?
I can think of explanations. And by the way, they stayed at the Hilton, so maybe they didn't believe in that slogan of "for the stay." And maybe, just maybe, a lot of publicity making them take parenting classes, community service, and to me, more than anything else, this is a wake-up call to the entire country, not just to them. They've been had. They're done. Stupidity, you can't legislate intelligence. They issued stupidity, boop, boop, stupidity. But give them a great deal of counseling. Make sure that the rest of the United States and anybody else watching Court TV and any other media outlet knows you don't do it.
Now, relative to the other cases involving parents, where does this fall on the spectrum? Because, like, they left the baby napping, but they were with the 3 other young children. So this isn't a case. We've got some really bad cases that we're covering.
No, I think this is just as bad.
Yeah.
You
think this is just as bad?
Choked. He could have thrown up and what else is it called? Asphyxiation? What's it called?
We're this far away from a babicide, man.
Yes.
This is literally.
What's the danger? Explain. And I understand some of the dangers, but what's going through your mind about the danger? Is it abduction?
Abduction, number 1. 2,
okay. You
also could have the baby, you could have something with the baby have an issue where the baby rolls over and then doesn't breathe.
Okay.
It's not just that.
Wait.
On that, chokes on throw up.
Okay, on that same note.
Yes.
You're in your house. The baby's asleep upstairs. You go downstairs.
Yeah, but you have the baby monitor at all times.
You don't have the baby monitor.
Who doesn't?
Should you be arrested in the same way these parents were?
Everyone has their baby monitors.
The facts are different, but they're the same. The good thing is this child is okay.
Yeah, the child was fine.
The stupid thing is what the parents did, more importantly, what they did not do.
We don't take their children away.
No.
Because that would not be in the best interest. That's not in the best interest of these children.
The context is the real problem here, in that it's not in my house where no one else is wandering around randomly.
So you're worried about the abduction?
No, it's not in a crib where a child that's been designed to be safe. It is outside, exposed to
in a tent.
Everything. Doesn't matter.
No, it does. The sun. A sun on a 6 month bed.
What if the baby's allergic to bees and gets stung? I mean, there's a plethora of wacko things. You're putting himself in a non-controlled situation.
And that's it. It's the lack of control. It's the lack of security. And it's just
Does it matter
reckless.
where they went? What if they're at the water's edge?
Doesn't matter. I don't think that's a problem.
Within eyesight.
If they're
We're gonna
10 feet
get into the
away,
question about-
eyesight, no big deal.
About-
in
I agree.
VD.
That's
about
fine.
people leaving babies in cars for a brief time to
Oh, wait,
go
we had
to
a hot
work.
car death here in Atlanta at Home Depot.
Might
I remember
might have
those.
some deep experience with babies in cars. There's a
This is
range
different.
of
This is a
results.
baby outside in a tent.
Vary.
80, that's why I said 80 degrees, because I knew someone was going to talk about the conditions.
But
it's a
again,
beautiful, mild day.
we see these different ways people are treated with these baby abandonment issues because we hear about them. I swear, it feels like
often.
every couple weeks there's another "Are you kidding me?" moment.
Right. What do you think was in their minds? Do we have any idea? I mean, we're all parents. Like, I'm trying.
Not their
I
kids'
can't
best
understand what
interest.
it. I can't understand what it is.
No big deal. We're just going to take a little walk. And then it got further and
but
further
we're
and further.
genetically
And they didn't
made to not
use
think
one
that way.
iota of intelligence,
And here's
not
what
one.
the defense
I
is.
agree.
It's exactly that, which is, what are y'all getting so worked up about? We've been raising babies for a couple million years. There's kids that are perfectly fine being laid down in a sheltered area for 45 minutes while I go take a quick walk. And that's reasonable.
All right.
At a certain age.
When we come back, new trial on Court TV. The victim, a high-profile member of the hip-hop world, Julio Fulio. But here's the defendant. Here's the defendant who's being tried. That story next.
26-year-old Charles Jones, better known by his stage name Julio Fulio, was a rapper from Jacksonville, Florida.
Girl, you crazy, pay for that abortion. Triple cross, go against the gang, then it's straight extortion.
Jones was in Tampa, Florida in June of 2024 celebrating his birthday, posting his location on social media several times. In the early hours of June 23rd, police responded to a shooting at a Tampa hotel where Jones was pronounced dead.
At 4:15 in the morning, Jones began to head to a hotel on McKinley. One of the suspect vehicles is seen following the victim. However, instead of following them into a parking lot, they stage across the street. At 4:38, 3 shooters exit a vehicle and walked in the direction of the hotel. They murdered Jones with a handgun and 2 rifles.
Investigators have now apprehended 5 suspects. The most recent one, Davion Murphy, was captured in January. Law enforcement released this smiling image of him from the arrest. Investigators also say the suspected shooters are affiliated with gangs that are rivals to Jones's gang in an ongoing feud.
These individuals took extreme measures to try to cover their actions, but they were no match for our investigators.
All 5 suspects who are in custody face first-degree murder and conspiracy charges, with 22-year-old Alicia Andrews as the first one on trial.
So the trial is on Court TV right now that is starting, involves just one defendant. Let's take a look at that defendant in court, putting on, the attorney putting some makeup on her, getting ready for day 1. So this is your murder defendant in this extremely violent case. Obviously, you got all these videos, but she's not one of the people holding the guns. Let's take a listen to the opening statements.
He didn't know, because there was no way he could know that his time here was limited. He didn't know as he was out with friends celebrating his birthday that he was being watched, that he was being followed. He was being stalked and observed by a group of killers, a group of conspirators. As Charles Jones sat there in the front passenger seat of his Dodge Charger, their plan came perfectly together. Caught completely, entirely off guard, completely blindsided. A Glock 9mm handgun was being utilized by one of these conspirators, a handgun that wasn't just a semi-automatic handgun. It had been converted to a fully automatic hand cannon. This defendant, Alicia Andrews, was right there, driving right next to that Dodge Charger in the seconds before this murder happened. Charles Jones belonged to and was affiliated with a group known as 6 Block. He was a member of that organization. 2 other gangs in Jacksonville, ATK and 1200, were affiliated gangs. They despise 6 Block. A member of ATK, a man by the name of Tilly, was shot and killed at a high school football game. This shooting of Charles Jones was clearly retaliation, but Charles Jones was not the shooter of Tilly. But that didn't matter.
On the weekend, Charles Jones was killed. Alicia Andrews was on a weekend trip with her boyfriend. Alicia Andrews is not in a gang. With the exception of her boyfriend, Alicia Andrews did not know any of those men in that group, and none of those men in that group knew Alicia Andrews. As a matter of fact, if there was some conspiracy, Alicia Andrews was not in the loop because she was not in the group. You would not find DNA, fingerprints, no physical evidence whatsoever linking Alicia Andrews to this case. Alicia Andrews did not have a motive. All of them in the group made their phones go ghost, except Alicia Andrews. All of them wore all black attire. Not Alicia Andrews. If the state's right, all of them went in the back door of the Airbnb. Not Alicia Andrews. All of them brought guns to the party, except Alicia Andrews. And you will see, ladies and gentlemen, that there's not one single shred of evidence that supports the state's claim that Alicia Andrews conspired to kill Charles Jones, let alone did anything to further such conspiracy.
Is this wrong place, wrong time, or is she part of all this? I'm having a hard time putting the pieces together. Like, I watched the video, I know, all right, that one, I get it. I'm trying to understand this case, this defendant.
I feel like I'm with the National Enquirer. Why? Inquiring minds want to know. I want to know why the state attorney's office has chosen to try Alicia Andrews, which appears to be a less strong or a weak case. I always believed as a prosecutor, you hit them hard first and everybody else gets scared and they start falling into place.
I have a theory. If she's found guilty, they'll then promise her a better sentence to then testify against the others. It's my theory.
Yeah, there's some machinations involving the 4 remaining death penalty cases, because remember, that's really the difference between her and these other co-defendants. The state wants the needle against those 4. She's the only one that didn't have specific behavior that they could justify asking for the death penalty on. But when it comes to...
But it's the rest of her life.
Yeah, criminal culpability. This is the felony murder rule.
100%.
101.
And her phone was there, and like there's a lot of evidence that is not what I'd call good facts.
Yeah, and my big problem, and we all literally said it while watching, don't make those promises, defense, about no evidence at all. No, she was there.
She was there.
She knows these people. Her getting up there and denying this full-throatedly makes the state's job
Think she
even
testifies?
easier.
No.
No way.
That no is spelled N-O, not K-N-O-W.
Yeah, no way.
And they may be dangling other people's death penalties in front of her for cooperation. The machinations of this kind of complex prosecution, there are lots of reasons, just like Meg's thinking, do this case first or do this case last? How do you squeeze
Let's talk about the
people hard?
conspiracy. Let's talk about, let's get to the truth, Is she part of this group, of this conspiracy? Do you feel there's a good faith Here's what I'm gonna get to. Prosecutors, I get it, strategy, etc., but I don't think that should be part of what a prosecutor's doing, is using one to get to another if they don't believe the one they're going after is part of it. Here, I believe they think that she is, but do we really think she's part of this group, of this conspiracy, this planned execution of this man?
When you look at it from a common sense question, how you ask that question, do you think she's part of that group? No. But you're asking lawyers, and do we think she's part of the conspiracy that occurred that night where a murder happened? Yes.
When you say conspiracy, what do you mean? Like she did one little
one
thing?
of her attacks,
that decided they were going to kill him. And I will.
That's what I mean. Is she part of the agreement that hey, we're going to Tampa to kill this man?
Possibly.
But you don't have
she
to
was
have that.
driving, and what I like about the courtroom is I like her makeup. I like her hair. She looks demure. She looks like. What, me? I'm just a young lady.
I would have covered that tattoo, though. See the little tattoo back there? I would have had the hair different.
And optics aren't going to save her, even though I would like Daryl to put makeup on me. You know, but I don't think optics save her at all, because the fact of the matter is she can't get away from a romantic interest with one of the 4 people who is on video with a clearly planned execution.
Yep.
So can she play the role, and maybe it's the truth, maybe it's not, that, you know, she's like head over heels for this guy, and she's kind of blind to what his world is.
Mitigation isn't culpability. She's getting lifed with that story. Yeah, I can't believe but I
No,
was
they're getting
there.
life at sentencing. I'm talking about in front of a jury. A jury's going to look at this and say, I know who did. They're showing all these videos to the jury, and the jury's saying to themselves, oh, I know that guy's guilty. I know that guy's guilty right there. I know the woman's guilty. Why am I not seeing her?
Hence, I want to know why they're trying this case first. Makes no sense to me as a prosecutor. Never would I have tried this case first.
But I don't like conspiracy law. I don't like RICO law. I don't like some of these things because it makes it difficult for somebody who's a lesser included person here, like you're just describing. Right. Yeah. But by the law, I'm assuming they're going to be able to show.
Let me ask you this:
what act she took.
What is legally her responsibility if there's a conspiracy with the other four? They know why they're going there. She doesn't know. She doesn't know until it's happening.
That's the big problem with conspiracy law is you are liable for everything, even if you did not know that's what was going to happen.
So you're guilty of the execution even if you didn't know there was an execution.
There's an agreement.
Because they're saying that she helped book the Airbnb.
And the moment she's
Airbnb, she was driving there. They have her on video.
How's the feeling about those guns?
She is a party to the crime, just as if she took the gun and fired it.
Yep.
Yes.
No.
But what if she did this again? I'm not saying these are the facts.
I was going to say we got.
What I am saying, I'm not saying these are what the facts are. I'm saying what if these are the facts to get your analysis on it.
We wouldn't be in trial.
She would still be guilty.
Had no idea this was going to happen until the moment it's happening in the car.
Perfect case. I had this case. Young man in a car. The other people in the car go into a store and decide to rob the store. There's a shooting. My kid didn't know what was going on. He was merely present. Right. And the Georgia Court of Appeals, like every other court in this nation, said, sorry, he's driving in the car with the guys going to potentially rob somebody, and he can't claim that he didn't know anything because we don't trust you, and there was a death. Life him.
That's a jury charge we use.
All right.
Yep. Not good.
That's the new trial on Court TV. We'll see what the jury down in Tampa does. Thanks so much, Daryl Cohen, Meg Strickler, Josh Schiffer. When we come back, I will reveal something else you need to know tonight, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, everyone is talking about the new Netflix documentary, The Perfect Neighbor. But more than a year before this movie, Court TV showed you the actual trial of Susan Lawrence, accused of shooting her neighbor, A.J. Owens. How did this neighborhood feud really turn deadly? Tonight, we investigate.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
An Amber Alert triggered by a deadly shooting and 2 girls taken by their father.
But did Dustin Durin shoot the mother of his children in self-defense?
The Amber Alert murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board. What do we have? Finders keepers? So a man sells his car for on his roof, drives away, the money's flying all over the road in a bag, and a man goes and picks up the bag. He's now wanted by police for that. So it's not finders keepers. This is all happening up in Maine, and apparently you're looking at this video. One man, the guy with the solid shirt, that's the one who's wanted tonight for taking that bag of $7,400. The other is the father of the guy who sold the car. He shows up almost immediately afterwards, and the guy takes off, so they're looking for him. By the way, if you find money in Maine, you can't just keep it. You have 7 days to tell the clerk in the town where you found it. You have to give them notice. If it's $3 or more, if it's $10 or more, within a month, you have to publish notice in a newspaper. Unbelievable. So this man is now wanted, so no finders keepers in Maine tonight. Take a look at your screens. We have a missing child who needs your help tonight. This is Natalia Wells, missing since October 15th, missing at a Chelsea, Massachusetts, 15 years old. This is what you need to do. If you see Natalia, pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference. 911, 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Chelsea Police Department in Massachusetts. That phone number is on your screen right now. Let's see if we can get Natalia to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.